Northwest Passage. Locked in ice for centuries, it has eluded man's historic attempts to forge a trade route through its waters. Most famously, Sir John Franklin and all 128 of his men perished during an expedition that launched in 1845, never to be heard from again. No sign of that expedition was found until one of the ships, the Erebus, was finally discovered in 2014. Since Franklin's time, the Earth has warmed, and conditions in the passage have changed. Ice that once remained year-round has exponentially disappeared, with global consequences. In 2013, 4 men set out to row the legendary route in a single season. Beginning in Inuvik, they plan to navigate 3,000 kilometers through the waterway, stopping en route in various Inuvialuit and Inuit communities in order to learn about the region until their final destination of Pond Inlet. Through their experience, the team hopes to paint a picture of the reality of the current day passage and what it says about the future of our planet.
So basically I've drawn this short straw and I have to stay in here for the whole trip up. The lads have promised to give me food and water. I mean, big picture, we shouldn't be able to do this trip. So the fact that we can even attempt it screams to the fact that, you know, our world is changing, our climate's changing, and it's got pretty serious ramifications for all of us.
Why do you want to do this trip? What, for personal reasons?
Oh, it's the old cliche. I'm a newbie, so it's go and find yourself. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so you're gonna find yourself up there?
Yeah, I hope I like what I find.
The magic will come when we leave the city. Right now, I'm still contained by the city, so it's not flowing yet.
This trip, from a personal perspective, is really important to me because it's one of these last firsts, in a sense. I mean, it's a great wilderness up there, and no one's ever done this before. We're heading north. We're driving from Vancouver to Inuvik, Northwest Territories, and it's a drive almost as far as from Vancouver to Toronto, just due north. 5-day journey, and then we begin.
One day left to love, the world we barely know. By the redwood on the stone, I'll be waiting here for you. When there's no place like heaven. Something in this great sky with a billion shades of blue. Somewhere under the rainbow, there's a color just for you.
We're going, we're in, we're heading. It starts, we're leaving Inuvik.
Excited, Dennis?
Very excited. This is the. I can give it a good push. Yeah, you give it a good push. Jump on.
I shared this story. I was past member of the Legislative Assembly as well, and in there I shared stories of what the elders used to say. And at a younger day, I didn't fully understand what they were trying to say. So when the men would gather around the fire and have some tea and they start talking, they'd say, "Oh, the weather's changing." And as a young boy, I'd look up to the sky and think, "Is it going to rain tomorrow?" It's now that I realize that they were remarking on their history and how the weather has changed, because now I've been around long enough to see the weather has changed fairly significantly. steering the boat in really soft sand. Your feet sink into. Thanks. And we're just trying to get it, inch it closer bit by bit towards Tuck. We're going to get it up here a couple hundred meters. We'll get a bit of shelter. It's just it's so shallow. There's a lot of spit, so it's hard to row. And obviously a strong wind.
This is a little video diary. It's our fourth day today. We've had shite weather. We're now currently, actually myself and Dennis are here in the cabin. Yeah. This is
going. Fuck. We've just worked it out. It's gonna be it's gonna take us exactly until probably the middle of October, and it's fucking, there's no messing. This is gonna be a long stint. We're walking at the moment.
The lads are outside hauling the boat. Myself and Dennis are nearly drinking tea, having the crack.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long trip. Hopefully, as Denier just said, in a few days we'll be laughing at this, but right now we're not even at Tuck. We're hoping we might get there sometime before Christmas, and that's the start line.
Kevin Valley, what's going on now?
It's funny, I was just saying, on King William Island, they found the remnants of Franklin's crew with a rowboat, 2 shotguns, mounds of chocolate, and all these skeletons around the rowboat because they were pushing it. No one fully could understand why. I think actually we're gaining an insight into that story. Look at it. You can't row in this stuff. It's brutal, so we're pushing it into shelter over here in the lee of this, and we'll wait it out.
We've had more violent summer storms, so when you get to Tuck, you'll see there's been a lot of the housing has moved off the end of the little peninsula, just because that has pretty much eroded away, and they put lots of riffraff along the coastal side to keep from the whole peninsula from eroding away. So we've seen more severe storms in the summertime and then the spring and in the fall, which might be associated with more open water as opposed to less open water, and so that you get more of a wind build up and stuff.
We have a lot of erosion here. With the warmer temperatures, we're seeing it accelerate because the permafrost under the ground, a lot of it is melting, and you're having a lot of areas that are collapsing.
Okay.
Even within the community, we're dealing with it.
Is this a lake?
Yeah.
That's a lake, yeah?
No. This is a part of the harbor. I was traveling with my family for a while when I was a kid, until they sent me to school in 1944 or something.
And at that time in August, would there still be ice on the on the water?
Ice, big iceberg, big high ones, grounded sometimes. It's like a big island, and now you can't see them anymore. It's all gone. Multi-year ice.
And when's the last time you saw an iceberg in this bay? Like how many years ago do you think?
Well, they started fade away slowly in 1960s. Slowly started getting less and less. And in the 1970s, pretty well started to get warm already. And that island you see there, it used to be about 3 times wider than that when I was here in 1940. So in 100 years, it's going to be gone. It started to get warmer now too. All the permafrost started melting. You know, this
took 2 after most of it is made out of permafrost, the lot. Once the water started eating away, it just slides. And same thing all along that way. It eats away about 100 feet at a time every summer.
So that's what.
So that's, you know, it's global warming is starting to take its toll, I guess.
Since satellite data began being collected in the late 1970s, multi-year ice in the Arctic has disappeared dramatically. In 2007, for the first time in human memory, the Northwest Passage opened, and then did so again in 2012. This clearing trend was the key factor that led to the team's rowing attempt in 2013.
If you're going between here and down this peninsula here, if the wind picks up, you're going to have to be really careful where you're approaching the shore, because a lot of the area between here and, like say, 100 miles north of here, probably 100 yards from shore, you'll be able to get out and walk with rubber boots.
It's no good. Stuck here with the tide, just when the weather and the wind gets good.
We beached the boat, and we don't want to wait 6 hours. We're trying to pull it out of the water.
How come the boat got beached?
Tide went out. We went on land. It was pretty deep and it went out quick. And now we don't want to wait 6 hours because there's a storm or a big wind coming in that will keep us here for potentially days. So we got to get it out.
It's very shallow here. It's very deceptive. The tide runs away so quickly. 20 minutes later, or 20 minutes earlier, we had lots of water. So, you know, it's a small mistake. Paul's fault. He'll learn from it.
I don't know how many times I've been telling Dennis, I'm like, geez, we shouldn't be beaching it this close. And he just gets in a huff and I give in, you know. Actually, it's not. It's all Kevin's fault, really.
I'll take the blade. It's my fault. I'll take the blade. Oh, why did they come ashore?
And do you get mosquitoes and black flies?
Yeah, everything, yeah.
And what's worse?
The mosquitoes are bad. If you're going east, you will hit them too, I guess.
So what do you think, guys? How is it without the wind here?
That's great. Lovely.
Good rowing, eh?
Yes, perfect. We're on land being devoured by mosquitoes.
When we should be rowing. That's such a tease. Look at that. Perfect. We're stuck here for probably at least 5 or 6 hours, I'm guessing. 4 or 5 hours maybe till the tide comes in. Maybe it's an idea to go for a swim. What we have here is the a RadarSat image sent from the Canadian Ice Service. Cape Bathurst here is kind of a crux point, because you come around that into Franklin Bay, you can see that Franklin Bay is completely covered in ice, and we'd have to go right down to the bottom, which isn't ideal. We'd like to cut across at some point. So, but that's the reality of it. It's locked up on the next cape as well, and then right over here from the mainland to Banks Island, it's just a solid lock of ice.
I was in Banks Island about a week ago, and was pretty surprised to see ice from probably 50 miles out from here, all the way to Banks Island.
Oh, wow.
Like ice choked,
like solid.
So, almost solid. Like there's pans moving around, the ice is moving around, but I don't think you could get a boat of any size without an icebreaker between here and there right now.
We were anchored here, and then the wind brought in this ice, and just bumped up right against us.
So what happened there, Paul, just now?
So we were at the anchor out. This huge chunk of ice came down towards us. We were stuck on anchor and trapped the anchor underneath the boat. So we was pulling the boat underneath. So we were trying to pull and get the anchor out, but we couldn't. So we had to cut the anchor free. So we're now minus an anchor. It's not ideal, but it was starting to pull the boat under. So just another day up here in the Arctic.
Yeah.
Trying to work our way through this little labyrinth of ice, a bit of a lee from this wind. It's supposed to be a cyclone apparently today, and we're caught in the middle of it. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Just trying to get into a safe spot, which there seem to be very few of. The Hand of Franklin. All right, we found our place of respite finally in this little bay. A little bit of ice protecting us and a slight lee to hide out this big windstorm.
What we're doing here is actually a CTD cast, and CTD stands for, it's that device that it measures conductivity, temperature, and depth in the ocean, as well as a whole host of other things. And the idea is to lower it down to the bottom, bring it back up, and it takes all these measurements. And evidently, it's extremely hard to get this information up here in the Northwest Passage because it's a very remote place, very expensive to do it, and we have the unique opportunity of being able to do it. We do maybe one, maybe two casts a day, and where all this information is sent back to DFO, and hopefully will give us a sort of an insight into what's happening up here, the various changes that are happening with climate change and the Arctic.
Very excited. Good news.
Good news.
Fucking,
okay.
I mean, damn, we're not meant to be swearing.
Fuck, do it again. Okay.
Okay, we're doing another video diary and we're going to do our best not to swear in this one because half these video diaries are probably never going to be seen or used by Frank.
Here's the deal. We just had a reality check. Said, right, we had a very slow start. We got serious delays before we really got going, which put us way behind the 8 ball. So we did some sums there to see, you know, is it still a runner to think that we can do what we're trying to do based on the distances, and we think it is. I thought it was gone, but Pond Inlet is still possible. We're talking about just after the middle of September. We've got to keep up a very good average, and we can't lose a week anywhere with weather or whatever. But it basically means that from here, if we keep the momentum going, we can go get more supplies. We can make it to Cambridge Bay, and from Cambridge Bay, we can make a decision to go to Joe Haven or Pond Inlet. Pond Inlet is the obvious end destination. That's what we're aiming for, and that's what we're still gunning for. And I thought it was slipping away, to be honest, but based on this and some of the mileage we've had in the last few days, game on.
There's a chance, Biogi.
Try to look for a better weather to travel, but then again, when you're traveling, there's always a little bit of wind catch up on you. So sometimes we travel in a little bit of blowing weather when we have to, just to make it to shore or something.
Yeah, make it to safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of drawbacks with this beast of a boat in this environment. You really kind of sit out there exposed. You can't really escape stuff very easily. Yeah.
We have an Atlantic rowboat on the Arctic coast, which is too heavy to land. It's 1 ton, and too heavy and beamy and has too much windage to paddle in wind, which is what you have up here. You have land and you have wind, so we're going against the grain. The grain is winning.
Yeah, we went around Cape Perry and there was these weird currents, and we just got spun in the fog, and we couldn't do anything, and we couldn't go where we wanted to go. We were basically driven out to sea, and we know there's sea ice out here, and the only thing we could get to is this island. We didn't even know what it'd be like. As it happens, it's just a tiny little beach, and the rest is just a big rock cliff. So we're trying to wedge the boat up onto this little makeshift beach and weather this storm. Again, bloody storm every single day. It's ridiculous. And then look at it out there, it's just howling.
So I was just wandering around Refuge Island here, across from Cape Perry, and found this, which looks like a part of an old sailing rig, like from a wooden boat. So very likely could have been from one of the old British expeditions from back in the day. So some sort of European sailing rig part washed ashore and is way up in the middle of the island here, probably kicked up by a huge storm at one point, and then it's been there ever since. Stuff up here does not decay, so this could be easily a couple 100 years old. Alright, so you can see how quickly things change again. This is 7 hours later, just woke up. All the pack ice that was here last night is gone, but the bay is completely choked with ice. It's being pushed in by this big now northwest storm. The wind shifted, all that pack ice is gone, and we've got this little ring of ice in our bay that's actually protecting us from this big, massive northwest storm that's pumping in on this little island.
There's more ice coming in, and it's kind of pinning us in, but it's eroding. and the wind has changed, so if we don't pull the boat up higher now, we're probably going to get, it's probably going to get just kind of swamped. So we're trying to set up an additional anchor here to add to the other one, which wasn't quite adequate to pull the boat up. It's starting to move all the rocks, so we're trying to add another one here. And never thought all my climbing background would come into such use in such a scenario.
We woke up at 2 a.m. to check weather and waves, etc., and all the ice is gone. And it's calmed right out, so we're good to go. Things change hour to hour, day to day.
How does it feel to be departing the island?
Pretty happy to get out of that place.
Where we go and do our harvesting for whaling, we've gone out for generations as families to do that. There's less people going out now than there used to be. But the impact is still there. Is it a positive one? Yeah, we see it as a positive one because we're a part of the land.
Bill had your boat that year.
And it's funny because it's sort of it's a good I don't know, good life skill.
It's from a hind quarter of a polar bear, 10.5-foot polar bear, very large polar bear. Back in the day, I used to skin 10-footers on my own. This one was so fat, it was like 4 inches of fat. It all gets used up. We don't throw hardly anything away. Shot up parts and damaged parts.
Yeah.
And even still, even that, you bring that part back for your dogs. When I used to run a dog team, I'd even bring the bloody lungs back for them, eh?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, throw that in your
Because they'll eat it all.
Oh, yeah.
And then you don't have to buy dog food.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. An average guy wouldn't make it without the native foods. He'd never make it. It's just too expensive. It's a flying community to begin with, eh?
So it's about survival.
Yeah, it's about survival, exactly, yeah.
And what's your favorite cut of beluga? Was it all good?
I'll show you. Come with me here. Cut that off. By there and there. You let the blood drain. You hang it up, let the blood drain.
So this is just like the tail, the middle of the tail?
The tail, that's a flip. That's a flipper right there. That's a tail right here, yep. So you just cut it up like in strips like this.
Baby beluga is not so big anymore, right?
Sounds crunchy.
That's how we do it up here.
Very salty.
Till you put too much salt.
Okay. It's quite chewy, all right.
What do you think, Kevin?
Chewy. It's quite fresh.
Think of ham.
And it's quite chewy.
Yeah.
Could be chewing this for a while.
When the trapping industry died in the late 70s, early 80s, tons of foxes. Anywhere you go, foxes all over the place. Today you could hardly see them anymore because man has quit using the land too, and we're big part of the ecosystem too, eh?
Yeah.
Keep things in check like any other predatory animal.
Behind time and low on supplies, the team takes a detour to the Inuvialuit hamlet of Polituck to stock up on food and replace their lost anchor.
Okay.
How did that? So that was probably just jumbled up, pushed up like that, and then frozen.
What we see today with all these technology things and even the little ones, they're really learning stuff like that.
Well, last year, like years before, you had to go out in the ocean to hunt seals. there'd be nothing in the bays here. In the inlet we have in Politic, you'd have to look for the seals out in the ocean. And today we're hearing about orcas coming into the country, and we find so big difference in our seal populations and in our beluga hunting. Like our seals are piling up into the bay here, which we haven't seen before. When the ice forms in the bay here, you'd see seals all over the bay on top of the ice. It never used to be that way, and if you wanted to find a seal hole, you have to go way out in the ice just to find the seal. But today now we have orcas, we have bowheads, we have humpbacks, we have so many different type of whales coming in now that it seems that it's scaring the smaller mammals into our bay and like moving to another country.
Then you watch your weather. That's the big thing.
Yeah, because I guess when it comes in quick.
Yeah. Oh, it comes fast when you when you don't expect it sometimes.
Describe what's happening here, Paul.
Yeah.
What do we just do there?
So we've got 2 anchors in. The problem at the moment is the boat, the wind is so strong, we're getting pushed out into deeper water where the anchors aren't long enough. The line on the anchor won't be long enough. So there's a danger there, I suppose, of losing the anchors and us accelerating way out. So we've just deployed a sea anchor. So it's basically like a big huge drogue, like a big parachute line. It's gone down in, so we basically got 3 anchors out now to try and stop us getting forced out. So we just need to keep an eye on our speed inside, and we can hopefully see in the next minute or so if the sea anchor is taking effect and it's actually slowing it down.
You just describe what that little map is showing, the line there.
So here's where our struggle today into the wind. We're not going any further, so we deployed our anchors here because the wind is too strong, and the wind has just kicked up, and even with 2 anchors deployed, we're just slowly being blown out. And as you can see, there's nothing out there. So this is the direction we're being blown out. Whee! Up here. So now we put the drogue out too, and we'll see if we can start to hold our position. It's just not comfortable when you're not in control of where you are and being able to hold your position. It's these things, little things seem to escalate pretty quick. So we always trying to stay in control of where we are, and when it's taken out of your hands by the wind, you don't know if it's going to stop or if it's going to get worse.
Denny Barnett, what's happening now in operation being blown out to sea?
We're fighting back, taking a chunk back. We're gonna go hide on the beach now. Can't get blown out to sea when you're on the beach.
That incoming pump there, Dennis?
Oh yeah, the exercise at 1 in the morning. Has to be done. It's weird up here. There's no safety net, so when you have to go, you have to go. It has to happen. So it's good. We got in. Everyone did their job. Good teamwork, and now we're relatively safe until the next adventure arrives.
Adventure boat.
Good times.
From today and 20 years ago, I can remember traveling in the ice, and 20 years ago you couldn't even find an open lead, you couldn't find open water. The ice opens every different week, every different month. Now there'd be open water out there, and it doesn't get thick anymore and makes it unstable for travelers.
Very important, Frank, with the tea. We let it stir for a while. Very important to get the strength into the tea.
So Paul, what do you think of these bitter Arctic temperatures right now?
It's piercing cold. It's shockingly cold up here. I don't know how we're surviving, quite frankly.
For millennia, cold Arctic air has kept the jet stream in the Earth's mid-latitudes stable. Now, as the Arctic warms at 2 times the rate of the rest of the planet, the temperature difference has lessened, weakening the jet stream and causing its wave patterns to shift dramatically. As a result of this shift, the globe has increasingly experienced extreme weather events, such as flooding, uncharacteristic cold, and drought, which will only be amplified as the Arctic continues to heat up.
So what's here, Paul? What's going on today?
Funnily enough, we're playing cards yet again for the millionth day in a row. We are anti anchor. We've got a very strong wind right in our face, probably 25, 30 knots. So we're not going anywhere. So we're drinking coffee, playing some hearts. We're going to have the dinner after this, and hopefully later on tonight we get to actually row.
Thoughts, Denis?
I could be doing this at home. Yeah.
That's not all you could be doing at home.
Kevin?
Patience. Quinitek. Keep saying that. Deep patience.
What day is it today of the trip?
35. 35.
And how many days have we actually sat, do you think, in total? Guesses?
10?
10, 15.
Something I've always said, with challenges comes opportunities, but you have to be ready to take up that challenge and find the opportunity. And yes, we have a thinning of ice and the opening of a Northwest Passage, which will extend the season for large ships.
I know that there are projects in the pipeline that are coming to our region who want to use the Northwest Passage year-round. I mean, they're talking about shipping ore all year round. I mean, it's going to affect the animals, it's going to affect the wildlife, and it's definitely going to affect the people.
How difficult would it be to respond to a Gulf-style spill in the north if you develop it in, say, like a wellhead blower or whatever like that?
Well, in today's environment, where the resources are, I mean, I guess I go back is how many Coast Guard ships are in the area? None. Can we name one? Those are the plain hard facts. If that development is going to occur, and we've had offshore exploration, but we've never had a production well put in place. For that to happen, there needs to be a lot of changes. When, for example, the Gulf situation that happened in the U.S., the Inuvialuit said there will be no drilling in the Beaufort Sea area. The government of Northwest Territories, that was a part of the government, said we will support that. because we want to ensure that the federal government has the resources and the capacity to deal with potential situations that can occur.
Worst case scenario would probably be an oil spill. If there was ever an oil spill up here in the north, it'll affect the whole ecosystem in our region. Because our environment can be so harsh, and our seasons are so short in the summertime, our boating season is so short. So trying to clean up an oil spill, like you've only got so many weeks in the water, and then that's it, it's winter. If there was an oil spill, you'd have to wait until next year, but same time all that oil is sitting in the water under the ice and affecting all the marine animals in the water. I'm sure it'll have a huge effect on everything else.
Hygiene isn't great here. No one's had a shower. Between us, we haven't had a shower in 2 months, so it's about 2 weeks since we've all had a shower each. I just had to watch Paul relieve himself off the back of the boat.
Just to clarify, relieve was going to the toilet.
What's the? Can you describe the facilities to the audience here?
Yeah, the facilities are they're very airy. You know, plenty of room where you're not confined for space or anything. Quite comfortable, plenty of handles, nice little railing to stand on, so you can talk with your friends as well, which is great, you know. Yeah. So it's good facilities.
How's the view?
For me, the view is great. For my teammates, I'm not sure how they would view it.
Well, back when I was growing up, we never did see any ravens up until about 15 years ago when they started showing up. I think it's all part of the change.
It seems like the grizzly bears are moving north as opposed to the polar bears coming south.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's the sightings they're getting, and where they're taking the bears that are mixed, are up on the Arctic Islands. So it's not on the mainland here.
So they're mixing on the islands.
Yeah, or maybe they're breeding on the sea ice.
More recently with grizzly bears.
How long have you been seeing grizzly bears on Victoria Island?
Bear and ground grizzlies, I'd say about 8 years ago.
Grizzlies never used to be this far north. You can see now they've moved even up into the island region of the Arctic. So just another example of climate change and species movement due to it.
It's like 2 o'clock. And to be honest with you, this is behavior of people that are coming to the end of a trip. It's not normally, rowing in the middle of the night when you can't see where you're going is
frankly kind of stupid.
And what's our shift? What's the time from when to when?
2:15 to 5:15, middle of the night, going at 1 kilometer per hour. But we're really close, so fair enough.
This is a video diary day, I don't know, 53, I think. It's 5 in the morning. We're just getting up for our shift in about 5 minutes. This is tough going. Dennis, what do you think?
It's not tough, it's handy. 2 hours sleep. 2 hours sleep on day 50. Kind of nearly ready to be finished now. Like, that's tough. It's freezing cold outside. Gear's damp, feet are cold. It's hard to imagine why you'd volunteer for this. Like I was saying, there must be a positive, but we volunteered for it, so maybe there's not.
This is a note from our weather guy, ice guy actually. Kevin, just to give you he doesn't speak, the first language isn't English. Kevin, just to give you the danger of ice situation at the Eastern Arctic, Yves Williams of Toluca, Netherlands, pulled out of the game and returning to Greenland. Yves is one of the most experienced polar sailors with many years of safe sailing in Antarctica and Arctic waters. Just that may pull the plug on further Arctic adventures, that the predictions for next year ice won't look that bright either. Yeah, so it's looking rather bleak up ahead. By the sounds of it, the whole channel is blocked with ice. It actually hasn't opened yet this year. Peel region, Bellot Strait, it's all locked down. So all the ships trying to come around from the eastern side can't get through. Tough year.
So what does that mean for our trip, Kevin?
It means we're actually not going that far. We have multiple things, obviously, with the weather, the wind and everything else. We're going to stop at Cambridge Bay. It only makes sense. It's going to be beginning of September. It's already freezing. It's -2 outside right now. It's dark, as you can see. Writing's on the wall, and we don't want to be rescued. So we're going to pull the plug here. It's been not here. It's still another 100K, but it's been an amazing trip. 2 very, very, very hard months with really crazy conditions and just crazy weather. Things have been. It's just a different place up here.
Do you remember the difference between like the temperatures in the winter and the ice? Is there any difference between that sort of thing?
Long ago, kind of cold, that cold. Right now it's warm, right? I know that bay over there, a few miles from here, snow, 1950s. Used to stay around all year round. Now it's not all the time, every spring.
He's in Cambridge Bay, baby! We made it. Yeah, just came in here now. Beautiful day. 2 boys had to work a bit coming in. Bit of a headwind, but all good. Yeah, it's a good feeling to be done. Yeah, relief, happy, tired, want to eat, take a shower.
Despite the team being stopped by ice in the northeastern section of the passage, according to NASA, The overall sea ice extent in the Arctic in 2013 was still the 6th lowest on record. The summertime minimum extent is in line with the downward trend of about 12% per decade since the 1970s, a decline that has accelerated since 2007.
Things are happening, weather's changing, and I've learned that when somebody says, well, things are changing, it's not the immediate change of the day, it is the gradual change over time.
I've been standing right here, listening to you, but I can't seem to hear you at all. To hell with this fear.